Hello, Joey and Jacob, and thank you for sharing your game, which was a very interesting one, as games in the two knights, especially with knights at g5, almost always are. So, d5, and I should add here that there is an alternative, which is a really fascinating one, with bishop to c5. It looks completely insane, and it is. And after white plays knight takes f7, which is playable, but probably bishop f7 is a little bit safer. But after knight f7, black goes bishop takes f2 check, and it's all kinds of mayhem. You can have fun exploring that, but I will leave that for all of you guys to work out on your own. But we're going to talk about d5 a little bit. So d5, which was played, e takes d5, and here knight takes d5 is super duper risky. It may not lose, which is kind of amazing. I mean, people have been playing this, and white has been scoring really fantastically for a long time. I mean, like if you just judge by the scores, you would think that knight takes d5 is pretty much losing. But when you run this thing on the engine, and people have been doing this for decades now, somehow it doesn't lose. So, I mean, I think white's got to be better. But crazily, there's not like a concrete variation where you just follow the theory out for 20 moves and white wins. So it's amazing that this is not true, that this is not just losing by force. But anyway, it may not be losing by force. Still, I would really recommend not doing that. Instead, knight to a5 is the most solid move, the best option, I think, objectively speaking. But there are other moves that are very playable. There's b5, which I think is called the Fritz variation. There's knight to d4, which is called the Ulvestad variation. And these two lines can transpose. Quite possibly, they often do. Anyway, knight takes d5 was played. So let's stick to this. Knight f7, the right move. King f7. Well, I said the right move. d4 is not bad either, but knight f7 is definitely the biggest test. So king f7, queen f3 check, so ganging up on the knight, which is only defended once. So black has to play king e6. Otherwise, white just takes the piece back and should win pretty easily. Knight to c3. So now we're tripling up on this guy, and black only has two defenders. So black needs to defend this a third time, because again, if we let white take that knight on d5, black is going to be toast. So it's really critical to defend it. And by the way, whenever you're in a situation like this, you want to count up the attackers and defenders. So sometimes you can trust yourself, but if we just trust ourselves, sometimes we miscount, or we kind of sense it wrongly. So count them up, and once you do that, then you realize I probably have to defend this guy again. So either knight c to e7, which looks like it's more solid, but actually the better move is knight c to b4. And here white has tried many things, from castling to queen e4 to bishop to b3 to d4 to even playing a3 and just telling black, go ahead and take the rook in the corner, but then I win your knight and I keep attacking. All right, well, let's see what happened in the game. So black played knight to d4, and here white was wrongly afraid with queen to e4. So yes, black is attacking the queen, that's true, and attacking the pawn on c2, also true. But if you take on d5 first, it's with check, so black can't take the queen, can't take the pawn, and after the king moves, now if you want to, you could play queen to e4. That said, I think there's a better move, which is queen to f7. And it's sneaky. So if black takes on c2 and then takes the rook on a1, woohoo, black is a rook up, right? Well, yes. However, knight to e4 is checkmate. So there's a cute little trick for you for future games. All right. In the game, as I said, white played queen to e4, which was not necessary. The knight could have been taken first. And here, black should save the knight, especially now that this knight is out of the way, because now black can just play the pawn to c6 and safeguard everything. So instead, black played knight c6. And again, I think you guys are maybe trusting each other too much. White should just say, hey, I can take this knight back. I'm going to take this knight back. And now white is up a pawn with a big attack. Black's king is dancing around in the middle of the board where it shouldn't be. White's going to win this. So castles, giving black another chance to save the knight, but black went bishop to b4. Okay, white finally captured, king to d6. And here, I'll just make really one last comment about the game here. So notice that the white queen attacks the black bishop. Now, that's true. We might say, well, but who cares? It's defended by the knight. But then let's keep following the logic here. The knight is under attack by the bishop, so this should be a removing the guard situation. So we should calculate. Okay, bishop takes e6. If the pawn takes, then I get a free bishop. White's up a piece and a pawn and has an attack. But you might think, yeah, I saw that too, but it's no big deal because black can take the knight here. And white takes the bishop and black takes the bishop. But now we should notice one more thing, which is that the king and the queen are lined up. So they're on the same file. What moves on files? Well, queens do, but so does someone else, right? Rooks. So white can go d takes c3, and if black plays b takes c6, then rook to d1 check wins the queen and should win the game. So lineups once again. I've mentioned it before. I'm sure I'm going to mention it again because it's just such a rich source of tactics. It happens more than you might expect. So if you remember lineups and you remember loose pieces drop off, you'll find so many tactical opportunities that you'll be amazed. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause here. Lots of other interesting stuff to talk about, but no time, so I will see you soon. Bye-bye.